Is it live? Is it going? All right. Whee! Yeah, I am sorry about the camera quality. I am sorry about the audio quality. I am sorry about how noisy that fan is. It is still in the 80s down here in Delaware, so we have to try and keep the upstairs cool still because cats just don't like that. And unfortunately, because of how just open the basement is, it's really noisy. Also, when I said yesterday that it was blow high washing day, they're still airing out. We have so many fish. But yeah. All right, cool. What was I going to do? All right. I had a little spiel that I was going to run through, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. I am really wanting to get into this frame. I've been waiting for this thing for about, I want to say 5 weeks was the shipping time, because I ordered that like the first week of August. No, that'd be closer to 7 weeks. So I was waiting on shipping for about 7 weeks from when I placed the order for this frame. Probably would have been about the same time had I ordered it previously, having like the experience that I've had generally with Amazon. There's a reason why I normally don't buy shit from them, because it seems whenever you buy anything that isn't bought off Prime, then you're just sitting there waiting and it gets there and it's not the thing that you ordered, and you call it and be like, hey, I ordered erasers and you gave me microchips. What the fuck? Those are not the same thing. And they're like, oh, well, we did a bin check. We sent you the right part. It's like, but you didn't. So, bike is here. Everything else has been here. I think I have everything I need, but I don't think I have everything I need because there's a few little detail pieces that I'll just start with that. It's already open. Let me just... Wow. All right. So the first things to really show up was the wheel set and the group set and the tires and the tubes and all of the other parts. Basically, I have been waiting on the frame for close to 3 weeks after everything had showed up from all of the horrendously lot of parts that I ordered over the last couple of months. I try and shop local as much as I can. There's a reason why I will always suggest, if you do shop online, try and use something like eBay, because you can go in there and be like, all right, I want to shop within my country. I don't just want to shop within my country. I want to shop within my county because I only want to shop within 5 miles of where I live. You can do that on eBay. You can't do that on Amazon. That's one of the reasons why Amazon sucks. And why it only took 3 days for the tires to get here and only 4 days for the wheels to get here. These wheels came from fucking Utah. They are handmade in fucking Utah. That's awesome. That's one of the reasons why I went with them. They were cheaper than the Mavics with the Shimano hubs, and they have better bearings, and they have a lighter rim that is deeper profile. So it's a little bit stiffer and technically more aero, but it's not really aero because it's a square section rhomboid alloy rim. But it's still a better aerodynamic cross section than a shallow drop box like I have on my old touring bike over here. So yeah, for those who didn't see on Blue Sky, I also had quite a fun time trying to get these tires mounted, because these Panaracer Agilists, I'm not sure that the camera's going to pick it up, let alone the horror movie lighting situation going on. Jesus. It really does feel like 2005 in this basement. Anyway, tubeless tires, they're great if your wheels are set up tubeless. These are not set up tubeless. So because of that, I had a absolute fight last week getting these tires mounted up. But they mounted up. They're great. They are still holding pretty good pressure just by the squeeze test. But I could put a gauge on that in a second. But that's the cassette. I'm pretty sure I need to get a 1/2 mil spacer. Oh, so let's set that aside. Wheels and tires. Group set that I went with. Oh, easiest way to show that probably is you're just going to grab my handlebar and stem that I have roughly mocked up. I went with Shimano Tiagra 2x10 because it's what I could afford. It's the best group set that I could afford without, trying to do stupid shenanigans with getting a credit payment that I do not have the credit to actually pay. So cash on hand, the best group set I could get was Shimano Tiagra. That was about $400 all told for everything. Who's in this chat? Oh, hey, Tim, what's up? Soapy water test. Soapy water test is pretty good. When I went through and did everything up to get everything up and over, I had to soap the bead and everything to get everything seated. Banged it up to the max PSI just the same way that Panaracer and Conti and everybody says you do. And I didn't see any sort of leaks other than the little bit of air between the bead and the bead. No, the bead and the hook getting pressed out as it pinged into place. So just to double check, let me set this down. Pop my gauge out. And we'll see how much they have leaked after sitting in the basement for, 7 days or something like that, I said? Well, they gone down to 75. That's after first check. 75 again. 75 again. Wow. $75. I am not shitting you. It keeps popping 75. So they're both the same, which makes me happy. They should be. They are the same profile rim, the same tire, not same, but consistency is good. Yes. For comparison, if I move that will fall down. I'm going to be in even worse lighting here in just a second. keep this on me. Take a drink. Okay. Power cable. Careful. Careful now. Okay. Now I have enough cable. Oh. Today, my old 1970s broken fan and a Japanese touring bike. Bridgestone Kabuki Skyway Disc. That was the original title for everything on it. You may notice, no disc, but there's a big, huge brake tab right there. I've got the brake disc and everything over there. I've got the original wheel set over here off to my left. So the original plan was going to be putting everything back to stock and hanging it up and blah, blah, blah. But I think it's going to stay as an indoor trainer for a bit because I am not yet confident enough on the clipless pedals to stick the clipless on the brand new bike that I just got for going outside and doing tour-on things and like sporty little fast rides, mostly by myself. But maybe with some of the local riders, we'll see. Yeah, it was just, this one was never reliable enough, mostly because of the problem I have with my fiddly hands and friction shifting. I do not have the delicate touch. That is why I like clicky shifters, that positive reinforcement that you know it is in place and consistent. Consistency is key. But in regards to like just mashing on a turbo trainer, friction is fine for me. So yeah, this is going to stay the turbo pig until I can get another used 126 millimeter frame or a indoor smart trainer, whichever ends up costing the least. I was going to check the tire pressure on this one. There it is. So these are also pan erasers. They are also 28C. This one, according to the Silka tire pressure, I was supposed to be 70 front, 72.5 rear at combined system weight of something like 178 pounds. I try and do my metric quick. That's about 90 kilograms, I think, all told. Gotta go have a late lunch. Think you have a great day. Have a good one, Tim. Oh, that's down to 35. Yep. And over here on the old one. And we're down to 35. And again, 35. And about 32. So, yeah. Similar consistency and leak down between tubes and time since last pumped up. Although, again, not surprised that these ones were leakier, given that they are cheaper tubes. And they are also older tubes. I've got probably something like 2,000 miles now over the last year and a half, maybe, I think. I don't know. I'm not looking at my numbers right now. Either way, This isn't about this bike. This is about the bike that's replacing the role that this bike originally had. Well, this one remains the Turbo Pig. We're talking about, boom, right here behind me. Let's pull it out. Let's actually see what we got while we're hanging out down here with the fish. Actually, I'm going to use this as a little bit of a bench. All right, so this frame. Let's get the best light about there. About there. Okay, that's good for me to know. I still need more light down here. This frame is a 52 centimeter Tsunami R1, which is a full aluminum rim brake bike out of Taiwan, but technically China, but technically Taiwan, if I'm remembering how the naming and factory owners are bouncing everything back and forth. But in general, it is a typical for Southeast Asian bikes, pretty lightweight, pretty small in sizes, which is a good thing because Western brands typically don't make bikes small enough for average people. But the not Japanese, well, yes, the Japanese, but the Chinese frames, especially that are coming out that you see all over the place on like AliExpress, Amazon, eBay. Again, this is where you're going to see this bike sold. Is basically through drop shippers that are importing, like buying in bulk from the factories and then importing them into wherever people buy them from. Because that's what happens when you have a global trade-based service economy. Some services, which is all industry is just a service, is it will move where it is cheapest to do the industry thing. So if you don't want like American bike brands like being picked up by Asian factories, then you don't allow the companies free will to just sell themselves to whoever they want. You keep Trek, a family-owned business in northern Wisconsin, to hire welders and brazers and stuff like that in northern Wisconsin, where there is historically a lack of jobs beyond farming, logging. And all of the trees are gone, and all of the farms have been bought up by megacorps. So what are the people going to do? It's stupid. It is stupid. It is stupid. Monopolies are bad. We don't like monopolies. So we support small factories that actually hire people local to their area. And as far as we can tell, because they haven't had any sort of like news or whatever that I'm aware of any sort of like injustice or anything like that against their workers, you know, like Specialized did with not paying anybody who was making their shirts for them for like a year and a half. What was I saying again? This is a cheap bike. It's a decent cheap bike. Let's actually see how it survived shipping, because well, I'm not going to turn the box around because the side that has the dent in it is the side that has my address on it. So I'm not showing that. Let's get this opened up though. Where did I put a sharp and pointy object? There's my scissors. So I made comment on it on Blue Sky about the 2 layers of packing tape on here. So because this came from, it's on this side, China. Because this came from China, when it went through imports into the United States, they took a pair of snips to everything and looked inside for illegal immigrants, because a person can fit inside this box, right? Uh, anyway, they did the same thing to all the Gunpla and sealed collector's edition Fujima models and stuff like that I had. That was even before Trump's first term. That's just what they do. It's just like, you have fucking X-ray vision through the damn thing. You can see that ain't shit in there. So anyway, when it comes to like collector market stuff, whatever, but I am not really a collector in that way. I'm a builder, which is why I wasn't upset about it. What I was upset about was that they broke the shit. So that's one thing that I'm worried about, because this is a direct, well, not a direct to consumer, but direct to middleman to middleman to middleman through middleman company monopoly to middleman to consumer. That's kind of the supply chain that's going on here. So I am really hoping that this dink down here, that I guess I can show headlong, kinda. Yeah, you see the heel there, how it's all smashed? And it is, if I try and do the same thing on this side without showing off my address again, yeah, see? All smashed in. So I am really hoping that the fork ends and dropouts are fine, because I would like to be able to ride my bike outside again. I am not taking anything with a crack in the dropout. Well, not crack in the dropout, a crack in the chainstay at the dropout. Like, I am not going to go out smashing that on the local not salt flats, tidal basin that downtown Wilmington has along the Christiana River. I can see New Jersey from my backyard. And if you can't tell, no, I'm not from here. Even within a nation, people move around. Sometimes it's a result of, they don't have a choice. They're forced to move because of storms that absolutely demolished the city that they lived in, that was already economically depressed because all of the jobs left. So, they have to move where the potential jobs are, which thankfully hasn't happened to me yet. But we almost lost the house in a storm last year, if you didn't pay attention, and it's still not finished being rebuilt. Climate change is a thing, but storm damage has also always been a thing, and it happens with old houses. I'm like a worse Milo Rossi without any sort of qualifications. I just try and make sure that I actually speak things that have been verifiably, not just some random dork on the internet, but actual institutions, and I don't mean institutions like the New York fucking Times, which is just a propaganda rag. If you're wondering if I am trying to copy Andy Q, the bike farmer, I am not. We're both from Wisconsin. This is just how people from Wisconsin are. I'm sorry. Bike. This is about bikes. This is a channel about bikes. because anyone who is out riding their bike is one less car doing a trip, which means we're burning less gas, which is better for the deer and the squirrels and the bunnies and the mollusks. We love clams. Clams are great. But fuck zebra mussels. They ruined Lake Michigan. Despite cleaning it. There's a lot of cardboard in here. I'm actually happy to see that, though. But there's also not a lot of foam, where I would hope there would be more foam from some of the other unboxings that I have seen. Not from this brand or not of this frame. I haven't seen any people documenting any of that, which is why I tried to start documenting it. But yeah, I hurt my knee mowing the lawn this morning, so I smoked a little pot, and then like when I came in from outside, there was a ring at the doorbell, and there was the bikes, and I was just like, oh, cool. And I didn't have to pay the FedEx guy that dropped it off a tariff either, because apparently when you buy this frame on Amazon, the $30-some shipping that shows up at the checkout thing is actually the import tariff, as far as I can tell. Which, okay, hooray, Amazon, huge multi-quadrillion dollar fucking monopoly actually, listened to the fucking ticker tape and like updated it for like when it was thing, so like they were keeping on top of it. So it's just like, okay, cool. If Amazon was able to figure out how to like factor in that ticker into their cart calculator or whatever for local or for local appropriate taxes and tariffs, I don't see why other companies can't. But also at the same time, Amazon, really? You say support small businesses, you say support local businesses with your whole ad campaign right now of your lady from North Carolina's barbecue sauce? How about you allow people to short by location so that they can, search within their nation's boundaries for like people who are already selling in here, who have already factored in the big, huge tariff cost into the knock-on cost so that you don't have to worry about that. People will always be importing shit because some people don't like the shit that's made locally because the shit that's made locally might not actually be decent, though. So that's another thing. We're all just people trying to make money. Why are we trying to make money? So that we can make sure our houses don't fall down on top of our heads. So that we can make sure that our family's health care is paid for. That sort of shit. Yeah. This is literally a vehicle for me to be able to get around the city and do stuff. Like, go out and do paintings and stuff like that, and like get back into actually doing stuff because, well, if I'm not getting any emails and stuff back from people that I've been applying to jobs for, I might as well make my jobs myself. And I'm halfway decent at a couple of these things. I used to be pretty good at it, but I am out of practice. I might as well get back into practice. To do that, you need a reliable way to get around, and a cracked bike that might fall apart on you and shank you in the ass because the chainstay came loose, which collapsed the seat stay, which shoved it up through your ass. You don't want that smoke. You want to make sure that your vehicle is maintained. And well, there are some great parts on that bike. It needs a new frame. That is a wall hanger now. That is a museum piece now. So I had to get a new bike. I really should have got a second-hand one, but I wanted a new bike. Because sometimes old shit is not nice. I wanted to build it up myself because that's fun. So let's pull this thing out. We got some stuff here in front in big fat foam wrap. I look down there, that is I believe that seat post should be Kaloi Uno, about 350 mil with a 15 millimeter offset. Exactly that. Advanced project. Did I get the right one? Oh! Hooray! So I got full Kaloi finishing kit. This is a manufacturer out of Taiwan. They primarily do alloy finishing kit. So bars, stems, seat posts. I originally messed around with some of their stuff when I was a kid because they don't just make road bike stuff, they make BMX bike stuff too. And that's what I was into when I was 10 and the towers hadn't fallen yet. If you're like me, you're probably born sometime in 1991 or after. Statistically, that's just the likelihood of it. So, unfortunately, anyone who falls short of like the 98 gang maybe probably won't fit in that weird crossover. But yeah. Bush left a lot of kids behind. What else do we have in the front? I feel a fork. We got a headset right on top. It is unbranded. At first glance, let's scoot around front here so y'all can see it. Ba-ba-ba. No fancy B-roll or anything like that. Little snip. Whoop. Dropped my 5 millimeter rubber plug. And yep. So it's a 42 millimeter non-integrated cartridge bearing. Very basic. Star nut expander cap. We got a seat post, clamp, and the derailleur hanger is detachable, which is something that you like to see. And I don't think this is actually a giant tail hook, which is kind of funny because most of the times when you end up trying to find the actual part number for the tail hook on a rim brake bike or a quick release bike or through axle bike that isn't UDH, it ends up being a giant part number because of just how many fucking bikes they make. Well, this one's not getting monetized. Not like my channel was monetized anyway. Not like I actually use it for much these days either, now that, I no longer have a perpetual license for the editing software that I used to use for when I used to make videos. Also, please don't look up most of those old videos. There's a reason why I privated, delisted, or took most of them down. I am ashamed of some of the things that I said when I was younger. I think most people are. What else do we got in here? Yes, this is most definitely a fork. I do have a scale down here as well, but we're not at the point of weighing things just yet. Yeet. Okay, so we got foam, then we got bubble wrap, and we got a bag, and this is live reaction, folks, because this is the first time I've actually seen. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, baby. How the hell do you... Okay. Alright. Smooth. Okay. So the finish is what I would expect for a brand new machine welded 661 alloy frame. Made in, I want to say they introduced the frame in 2024, I think was the earliest listing that I've seen for this frame. So, you know, very current. And honestly, comparing this to my, comparing what welds haven't been machined down for the shaping on it, because this is a alloy fork, alloy frame bike. Like I said, there's a reason why I said it feels like 2005 down here. Yeah, it is very nicely machined, but there's still a couple of burrs and hang-ups where the brake stay is, or brake pivot bolt boss. That is a lot of B's in a brake pivot bolt boss. BPBB. At least when it comes to bicycles, there are not many standards when it comes to brakes. You have straight drilled, which is like that bike off to the side. And you've got recessed nut. Then you've got canty and V-brake. The difference between those is which way the pivot runs. So it's either above or below, which is funny. And then you've got two standards basically for disc brakes. Technically, there were more. They died because they sucked. There's a reason I don't have a disc brake on the back of my 1974 disc brake touring bike. I converted it to rim brake because old disc brakes sucked. And that also kind of colored my opinion when it came to choosing which bike I was going to buy, because I rode that disc brake 105 Trek. There is a bunch of cardboard stuck around the crown race from one of the processes in setting this thing up. So that's going to have to get cleaned. I'll set this aside so I stop yammering. Nice fork. It feels pretty light. It's definitely lighter than the steel frame. which is important to me. I am not a weight meanie. I will be happy if this thing all comes in together around 10 kilos. I will be very upset at myself if it comes in over 12.5 kilos because that's about what this sling weighs right now. All right. Okay. So, good news. This half of the frame was up above the impact. The impact side would have been coming down along here, so I want to pay attention on my down tube and around my bottom bracket. Now we can get this away. And double check, is there any paperwork in here? There's 2 more pieces of cardboard. And 2 more pieces of foam. Okay. There's nothing else in the box. Now we look at the big bag, big plastic trash bag. Hooray. New shop trash bag. Not a whole lot of foam. Ooh, funky. That didn't show up in the pictures. It's got oval seat stays. But instead of being along, they're oblique, which is funky. So, like, you know how with an arrow top tube versus an arrow down tube, it's like that. Which doesn't make sense because normally when you do bladed seat stays, you keep it with the wind. But yeah, hydroformed here too. Really chunky, but not machined welds. So I kind of actually know what the fuck I'm looking for. Oh, there I go, getting demonetized again. When it comes to welds on 661, I have never personally welded it. But unfortunately, my dad was a boat guy. So he had to have a boat. And he had a double-hulled deep V, what was it? Fisher something or other. It was a 16-footer. Thing was like 8 feet wide. Originally had a 2-stroke Mercury, 15 horsepower on it, with a little electric kicker motor for just, trolling around or whatever. But when that died, he got a 25 horsepower Yamaha because he had a 25 horsepower 4-stroke Yamaha. The ones that got like 78 miles to the gallon roughly when you were cruising at like 10 knots or something like that. Ridiculously fuel efficient engine. So give him props on that. Plus, I think the hydrodynamics on that boat, that hull capped out at maybe 17 miles an hour with a tailwind. It was a slow boat, and it wasn't a powerful boat. It was for one thing and one thing only, taking the kids and, fishing. but it's just like, dude, I know we live in Milwaukee. We don't live in Milwaukee anymore. I know we live on Lake Michigan. I know we can go up to all of these other places, up where, wherever, this ever, wherever else. But that's so much faff. That's so much extra expense. Like, oh yeah, we're going to go camping and fishing once a year. All right. Cool. I'm going to buy all of this extra stuff that we don't need that is going to take up all sorts of space, use up all of the family's funds, and we could barely afford to take it out once a year. American dream. Rent it. If you need to tow something, you will have a rig that is actually used for towing something. If you have a big truck because you want to take your family out fishing and camping and hunting once a year, so you also have to have a huge boat and a huge trailer and a huge canoe to go with it because, well, we got to haul everything else out there. It's just like, dude, rent it. You don't need all of the everything. I'm not a minimalist so much as I am take most advantage of what you have, but don't let scope creep set in. They say having built a bike shop in their garage. Well, basement, but still. It was a barn. I have better tools now. I have an actual desk now. I have an actual shop stand now. I have an actual truthing stand now. I might be going places. Let's talk about the bike itself. That's what this is about. It is actually surprisingly light. This is stupidly light. So a lot of people will go and say silly things like, oh, anything over 8 kilograms is a dog. I disagree quite vehemently. Remember Eddie Merckx, the GOAT? How long did his hour record stand for? That Colnago he was on weighed about 10.5 kilos, if I remember correctly. In fact, it wasn't until the 1975 New York Bike Show that Panasonic, a Japanese bike manufacturer, built a 10.5 pound, not kilogram, 10.5 pound fixed gear. Granted, they cheated, but still an awesome bike. Also, this is awesome to see. So, Tsunami has 3 dropout widths that they use. The little plug to hold the dropouts in place to try and make sure that the chainstays don't get bashed in transit, which it seems like they haven't. I'm happy about that. Everything also looks pretty square as far as I can tell from just wiggling it in my hand. It's at least as square as something that you would be able to pick up in, for sure, at least Walmart or a used bike shop or something like that, or Marketplace or whatever, if you're doing something like that. But the quality of the welds that I am seeing, there's a reason why I was talking about boats. Yeah, it looks like the same sort of TIG welds because you have to TIG aluminum Yeah, like the cable stop for the rear derailleur looks a little bit boogered on, but that is the only one that I am seeing looks like that. And that is a complicated little area to try and get a head in to tack a cable stop on. This is obviously not a Di2 ready frame. This is just a rim brake frame. And Lord, I hope I grabbed the right size. Because I think there might be a taper on that. So I am going to grab that real quick. Whoa. And if you're wondering if there are any sponsors on this show, no, there are not. But if you would like to sponsor the show, leave a comment below, either on the replay or whatever, and I will work on getting myself set up as an actual business so that I could actually do that. So that you can support me financially through places like Patreon or whatever. But again, like I was saying about the watercolors and the sketch paint or sketch artistry and stuff like that, that is I need a vehicle to get out and go do that. And I haven't been inspired to be adventurous, wherein the adventurous is, will my machine break down? Because that is never a fun adventure. I have had 34 years of that adventure, and I would like it to stop. I need to find out how wide this is. Let me grab a little bit of the packing so don't mar it. The number that I'm looking for, I will be able to tell even if I'm out of spec by the 4 plies of cellophane. Zero. God damn it. Well, this is why we like alloy frames. Ah, nice. Okay, so we are going to put this back in the box a moment. We're going to take the touring bike out of the stand, and we're going to actually take the stand with the Tsunami R1. Wow. Let's move all of this over there. Oh, now I got some Swedish House Mafia stuck in my head because that's what sort of millennial queer I am. Ah. You know, for an old ugly bastard of a bike, I really did enjoy this bike. It's got yeah, we'll go there. That's got what we'll call story. Decrust my hands. Lighting is probably going to change. It was broken anyway. And only just enough for it to touch. Ta-da! We could probably drop this down a little bit. Not that much. So, here's the frame. And so, what I was doing when I went and made a dingus of myself and knocked it over after grabbing a measurement of what size the down tube or seat tube is. Plus, that's in here. And where'd the other thing go that I was worried about? So, seat post color. Dun, dun, dun. It helps if you open it up a little bit so that you're not trying to put it on while it's closed. I really liked that new truck, though, that I test rode a few months ago at this point now. That was the first new quote quality bike. I'm saying quote quality because you can't tell lived quality on just a test drive. You can never bullish at first blink or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, dude. I just live here. Okay, they got some Loctite on these. And it's the blue stuff. Why am I crouching? I can do this. And now, now that's not a problem anymore. If you like working on bikes and you haven't invested in one of these yet, they cost, I think this one cost $57 with shipping. It doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to hold your bike up in the air so you're not squatting around like we're still in caves. They say, sitting in a man-made cave. We're still cave people. Just because we're gentle and modern now, supposedly, allegedly. Something is going on there. That does not feel right. Up there. What is going on? There is a thing that is doing a thing. Yep, that is exactly what I thought happened. Well, the first 2 paint chips are in it. I guess that means I can hoon it now. When I knocked it off of the thing, it pinged the back of the dropouts. They are not out of whack. They're beefy enough where it won't break falling off of the shelf, which is a good thing. It just made me embarrassed that I went and knocked it over on camera. For all, 4 of you that are here right now? Anybody watching? Sound off in chat. What's up? I'm not full on building up this bike today. I don't really have the energy for that. Oh, there goes that nut. I just want to roughly see what it's going to look like when it's all done. Because I got to get that shim for the cassette, which I don't have on hand. I probably am going to need to get some different bar end plugs because bar end plugs that I kept on being the wrong size. What do you mean they're the wrong size? Is there only one size? It's like, no, there's like 5 sizes because nothing can be standardized, like actually standardized. All right, where is our minimum insert line? Right about there. Okey doke. Where'd that 5 go? Now, I do have better tools than this. Just the little tiny Ting Dong Craftsman pocket tools. It was a 4. Just enough to hold it for now. Because this is not the full build, this is just setup. Which means I still have to scrape that. Ooh. Bearing retainer is really nice. Crown race. Nice. Crown race is not machined, so that needs to go on. Which also means I need to clean that gunk off. But that helps it. I love integrated headsets. They just go together. They just work. That out really quick. Oh, that's nice. The bearings feel as nice as everything I've ever put together in my life. They honestly feel better than most of the bikes that I've owned in my life. I will admit that. So this is so far looking up to be a pretty nice bike. Sizing things. Right, where did I stick that special little piece? Well, I am looking for that. Well, here's my spacers for the headset. This we can hold it there for now. Oh, this saddle. Let's see about getting this saddle. Clamp by what is supposed to be clamped. Clamp on the seat post. Do not clamp on the top tube. Even if you have a metal frame bike. These are not suitable for compressive forces. They are squeezed down so that it is nice and thin and light, because this is actually a pretty thin butted tube. This frame in, which one is this again? 50? I think this one is actually the 52 because this is a medium. And I don't have my tape measure down here to measure the head tube, because that is the easiest way on this one to measure, because there's 20 mil difference in the head tube height between the 50 and the 52. Or was it 53? There's like half a dozen geometry charts for this bike, unfortunately. So it's sometimes a little hard to tell. And it is a bigger one as well. Okay, where did the 3 mil go now? There it is. Now we're U5. Yes. Okay. Let's loosen that up. I'll loosen up. And same on this side. Oh, this side's fun because clamp. But just enough to get the on. So the saddle that I went with is, I would say, a pretty typical saddle for road use. If I can get that on. I guess it's not wanting to. Unless I take that all the way out. The Ergon SM Enduro is what I went with. It is UCI dimension compliant in regards to length, which is one of the things that I was looking at, versus the old Ride Race saddle that I've been running. That AliExpress special is actually pretty good for the money. The cushioning on top, it is like this one, a chromoly rail with a nylon reinforced, fiberglass reinforced nylon base, but then, gel on top for padding. The Ride Race has a full cutout, whereas this just has a shaped channel. Because this bike cannot be fit with fenders, I didn't want to be going around with as much of a happy trail as possible, so I went with what is a decent mountain bike, cyclocross, and gravel bike saddle. Apparently, that is shorter than my old saddle in a couple important dimensions. Because the seat tube difference on the new frame brings the nose of the saddle further over the bottom bracket compared to the old frame. To get my body in a more comfortable spot or whatever, that's one thing that I was looking for, was a steeper seat tube angle with less offset up here to accomplish that. And also, of course, much shorter chain stays. So keeping this dimension the same is basically how I fit for this bike, because I could ride that bike that's over there for about 4 or 5 hours before my neck and shoulders start really killing me. So whatever I'm doing with that cockpit, we're basically transferring saddle to cockpit dimensions onto this bike, which, if you don't have the money to go do a huge bike fit like professionally, if you can ride your bike for a whole afternoon before you start feeling pain, then you're pretty close to where a decent fit for you would be. But it's still a good idea to go get a professional bike fit before you go spending the sort of money that road bikes can cost now. But also, it's not like we haven't had bikes that cost $4,000 before. Go back to that 10.5-pound Panasonic from 1975 that I mentioned from the New York Bike Show, that was portrayed with a price tag of $4,000 in 1975, which was an average person's annual income at that time. I want to say that one was mean. So yeah, when people talk about how expensive cars were back in the 1970s, when they were like, yeah, man, I saved up for like 2 years to buy my own brand new huge Charger SRT with the heavy. No, they didn't have SRT back in 69. That was just RT. They weren't really working class if they were making that much money back then. They were managers. They were owners. Managers just failed to the top, and we as millennials know this because some of us were managers. I'll never be management again. Fuck that shit. With what they pay managers nowadays, keep me on the line, dude. I know I can cook good. Let me cook. All right, let's get this saddle on. Oh, that's coming apart now. Oh no. Let's. There has to be a better way. If you're wondering why I'm such a klutz with this style seat post, I have never had a bike with this style seat post. I'm doing this unsupervised and uneducated. Okay, so I guess that's the way that you have to do it. Oh. Oh no, it's horrible. Where'd it go? Where's the nut? Aha, it's in. I got it. So I know that's a 5. I know that is in. Actually, hold on here. You a 5? Yes. You're the 5. Ta-da! I told you I have better tools. I laughingly say as I use a Pittsburgh. Is that a thing that they're... No? Okay. Okay. It's the same on both sides. Nice. My plan going into this was to only spend about as much as what I could get at the local bike store, about fit to where I know I'm comfortable, at least. That is not even close to right. Right. I think that's about right. All right. So that's that. So that's on. Let me actually do this thing quick. See if I have some sort of scraper. A wire wheel. Where is the wire wheel tool? There it is. Apologize for the noise, folks. Okay, that was a little bit dusty. All right, so that's cleaned off. So our crown race on. Some people will smash that on like hardcore, just like bam, bam, bam. If it's well machined, you're not going to have to fight to get it on. You just gotta to get it on. If you're forcing things together, stop. Reassess. It's not supposed to be a fight. Use the correct tools. If you can't get the tubeless tire on over the rim, stop. Reassess. They're supposed to work together. But because of how manufacturing tolerance is, sometimes you have to use a little bit of lube. And a little bit of lube is understandable. Assembly paste is a thing for a reason. Before I go sticking this in, I need a zip tie. Where did I put the zip ties? They are over there. They're under stuff. There might be a girlfriend reveal. Hello up there. How was face? Well, they definitely look better than they were before. How's the numbing agents and stuff? Yeah. At least it got done though, right? Do you remember where I stuck the zip ties? Because I don't. Yes, stream. I figured I wanted to hold myself accountable to actually making sure that it gets built and built correctly. What you looking for? I think I'm just going to use the toe strap that I have over here because it'll do the same thing and it's reusable. Toe strap. I think this is actually a very great color. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a third option.
Hmm?
There's a third option.
Hmm. I don't want to make you just stand here and hold the thing, so I'm just going to give it a quick little strap. Tim was around here. Tim's cool. If it's the Tim that I thought it was, it probably is. There for now. Cheeky little hat swap, quick. just want something for the clamp to rest against where it's not marking up the paint. I'm worried about getting that tight in a moment. For now. So the way that I had roughly matched this up was I should be 25 mil of spacers underneath here to match that with this. But that was off of Bike CAD, and I don't know how accurate Bike CAD was, let alone how accurate my measurements were there. So I got like 60 millispacers. So here's 210s. Well, that's on the floor now. I'll make a pattern, I'll stick a 5 in the middle. Oh, wait. Hello? You're back here somewhere. I know you are. There you are. Were you this size? No, you actually are 4. Okay. That was supposed to go on before. Okay, whatever. Okay. It's a 3.
In a couple hours, do you mind making me a smoothie?
Smoothie? Yeah. I'll have to get the thingy cleaned up, but I can do that. Oh.
Enjoy your peanut gallery. The 2 of them are facing the wrong direction.
They had to go that way so that they wouldn't fall. And that is not all of the blow high in the house.
There's one more.
There's
No,
there's
3 more. 2 more. One of the 2.
so many fish. You might think that we're trans. I don't blame you. I'm basically just going to get myself set up to get a rough cut on the head tube. And see what it'll look like with the wheels and bars on.
Other
Whoop, whoop. Well, that's going to be fun to go try and find. Easy. Sorry, spider.
Ain't that the most useful?
Huh?
Ain't that the most useful thing?
Yeah, that is really nice to not have to go digging around to find the flashlight. Just shake your phone and boom, light. Awesome, awesome. What year did that phone come out originally?
The Edge 2020. So that's the Edge 2020.
Okay. So, new old stock / refurbished 3-year-old phone was my new phone, but the feature that we were just, wow, so cool, it's like 5 years old. It's still awesome. Great, great feature. Shake your phone, and all of a sudden it's a flashlight. It's great. How many spacers do I have? We got 2 1 mil, 2 2 mil, and a 3 mil. Wait, or something. I don't know. We're gonna make another pretty pattern. I like pretty patterns. Uh, full Calloy Uno cockpit. There's the bar and stem. Drivetrain is going to be full Shimano Tiagra. There's a part that I was looking for that I got distracted with getting other parts mocked up with. So I forgot that I was going to have to, completely do everything apart when it comes to getting the stem ready to get cut. Because that is a job that we're going to be doing while we have that huge ass stack of spacers underneath there. So the fun thing is when you are shopping for bikes and being a bike nerd, because bikes are just fun and it is fun to be a nerd. Just going around trying to find this thing, the other thing. Okay, that's coming undone. Blah, blah, blah. And crank. Are we still trying to come undone? No? Okay. Stand up a little bit more. So far, everything that I've touched has been either a 4 mil, a 3, a 4 mil, a 3 mil, or a 5 mil on this bike. So, those multi-tools? What are the things that you should do when you go around and build your bike up, or double checking everything to make sure that everything is the right torque and stuff? See what size tools you're using. Get a multi-tool that only has that size tool. It will keep you from bringing more than you need to bring, but also keep things so more than likely or not you're going to have what someone else is going to need if you're out on a ride with them. And if they don't have, fancy little Torx bits or stuff like that, or your entire bike is decked out in just Torx, well, then all you need is the one tool. And when someone's just like, hey, can I do a thing? And you're just like, sorry, man, my only tool is nothing on your bike. Which is Kind of a dick thing to do. Torx is great though. Ooh, that's nice. Unfortunately, that is glossy, and that is matte, and that is matte, and that is matte. But this is glossy, and this came with the finishing kit. This is matte. So this is machined finish, same with these, but this is cast finish, matte black, cast finish, matte black, cast finish, matte black, and gloss black. I'm sensing a theme. Faceplate. Before I do that, I should actually get a clean score line. I'm not jumping over something. I'll just hold that against my tummy so that it's maybe almost preloaded just right. When they're scrawny like a twink, but they're kind of fuzzy like a bear, they're an otter. And they will crush you like a clam against their tummy. Red, you're a fox. Isn't that cultural appropriation? This is a furry channel. This may be a bike channel, but this is still a furry channel, okay? Okay. Score the aluminum. Show off my millennial butt and skinny jeans. Almost all the way around. Cool. I absolutely scrape the fuck out of the inside of that little shim, but it's not like it's going to be visible. It's going to be capped and compressed and this, that, the other. I need space for the compression cap still. So, all right, so that's the top of the stack. All right, I need to change how I have that order stacked. So I had you up top. I should have had you up top, but because I had you up top, I need to put you up top. Ha-ha! No, I need to take you out. And put you on top. Now, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, when it comes to getting the headset compression set right, on metal steering tube forks, at least, that have a threadless headset, they have this little star-fangled contraption that goes down inside the tube, and then that gets pulled up like this, and because of how it's shaped, it pulls the fork up. But then you've got this bit of ramping up on top on the inside of the cap there that fits in against your spacer stack or your heads or your steering stem, and they pull against each other to lock everything in place so it doesn't completely rattle apart on you, and then the front falls off, and you don't want the front falling off. So you need a little bit of space between the top of the tube and the underside of the cap. So you need to have whatever the top is just a little bit above 3, maybe 5 millimeters, half a centimeter, barely that. That is not a lot of space. So that first scribe mark was as tall as I can go with what spacers I have. This is the thinnest spacer I have. And that ran away on me. And it goes on. Then I'm left with a surprising amount of space. Okay. So yeah, smashing everything down there. That looks to be about 5. Let's turn that on. Let's turn that on. About 495. That is near enough to 5 for me, which means it is good enough for who it's for. People say like that is a bad thing. I am not super stellar. I like nice things. This is a nice thing. I am trying to put it together right. At the same time, it is not going into space. It is not going to be doing top speed runs and stuff like that. I'm going to make sure that everything is torqued right and put together right. But if, I cut the steer, what was it? 0.05 of a millimeter too short, so it's actually only 4.95 millimeters instead of 5 that I am below the top of my highest potential stack. That's stupid. That is stupid. It doesn't need to be that fine. It is not the gearing, which is why I went with Shimano, because Shimano makes really fucking good gear. Tourney, that level, Altus, that level, the old Dior, the stuff that you are most likely familiar with when it comes to Shimano, the 3x7 stuff that comes on Walmart bikes. I grew up on that. They haven't changed it in the last 34 fucking years. Measurably, at least, in regards to user experience. But the trickle down, when you start looking up, Claris even, 2x8 speed road, that they're getting rid of for queues. Sora, the 2x9, also road. Also getting done away with for queues. The 8-speed Dior, not the 3x8 speed Dior, the 2x8 speed Dior. That's some good shit. Same for the 9-speed Dior and the 10-speed Dior, especially like the 1x stuff. That's pretty nice. Like the 10, 11, 12-speed stuff. Then you get up to like the 12, like all of the Di2 stuff. I don't think people need that. Like bikes of the people, we do not need that. I don't think 105 is the group set of the people anymore. But that's me. I am a nerd. I am entitled to my own opinions. All I know is total cost, if I remember right, as it stands, I am cheaper than the 8-speed Claris giant rim brake bike. And that's after having bought a computer and everything like that. So, yeah. I wouldn't have been able to do that had I gone with 105 instead of Tiagra. You in? No, you're not in yet. You in now? Yes. All right. You know what's nice about an aluminum fork compared to a carbon fiber fork? I'm almost through. Oh no, my stack is coming undone. There, come on. Wow. Oh. And let's just try and protect the paint a little bit for when that pops, like it's about to. I haven't even worn this one yet. It's one of the two new ones that I got. Maybe I should have stuck that one on underneath. Use the sleeves to hold it inside. There. Okay. There we go. I love these. So much less hassle. So much less hassle than the carbon fiber ones. Oh. All right, that cutter probably. Yeah, that cutter. It's not a very good cutter, I will admit that. Does come with a backup cutter though, so that's nice. This one was the Kenway RL101 Pro. In regards to pipe cutters, it is a functional pipe cutter. It cut a pipe. That is all I needed it to do. And now it goes back in the packaging until I figure out how steezy this one is going to end up being. I don't think it's going to be very steezy. But I didn't want to cut everything off all at once and just behead it. So I'm probably going to be rocking a chimney for a little bit. But it is okay to rock a chimney for a little bit when it is new bike day, which is awesome. It is a day that comes for a lot of folks once in every 10 to 15 years, which is why you see constantly headlines every 10 to 15 years of, oh my God, there's a boom in cyclists. Everybody is buying bikes. It's just like, yeah, bikes typically have a lifespan of about 10 to 15 years when you don't actually take care of them. So people buy a bike at Walmart, they ride it until it either gets stolen or literally falls apart 10 years later. So unless you're like a YouTuber who is trying to take the Walmart 3x7 full suspension mountain bike that costs $150 down a double diamond, yeah, it's going to fucking break. But if you are Joe whoever who just wants something to ride around the park with their kids or to work, honestly, Walmart bikes are fine. They just have really crummy shifters that don't feel nice. And if you do start doing any sort of like serious sportive adventure biking with them, they're not really meant for that. They're literally kids' bikes. And honestly, I think we as consumers should demand better than the shittiest possible bike possible, which is what the Walmart bike is. That's why I am building a literal AliExpress just frame, not an AliExpress bike, which is a difference. There's a difference, you know? I know I said AliExpress just there. You can find this frame on AliExpress. You can find this frame on Amazon. There are more places than just them that are selling frames from this manufacturer. In fact, there's also like way louder industry, like actual industry entertainers and stuff like that recommend this brand, but have not mentioned this frame. So I see people talking about the brand, but not this frame. So I want to talk about this frame, and I've ended up ranting about everything but that. So I don't know. How do I change that? Okay. So let's see. What are that is still kind of nasty up top. Where did a thing go? I literally just had the thing, and the thing ran away. This just in, local ADHD cyclist gets lost in their own basement. Okay. So, we have 5, 10, 10, 5. Two and one. And $40. Okay. There's actually a pretty nice gap there, even if it's all held in there right with that. This is the job that I hate. Where did my damn hammer go? I need my flashlight. I need to figure out a better way to organize down here. Finding everything but the hammer. For real, I had it out yesterday. Where did I stick it? Oh, chat. How am I supposed to drive my star nut home without a hammer? Well, yep, hammer gone. I didn't have it out yesterday. I had it out 7 months ago when I put the Cotter BB out of the old touring bike, and I don't remember where I stuck it after that. So the fairies took the hammer. I have been going for 2 hours and 10 minutes now at this point in time. I have accomplished all of not very much, but girlfriend did also just have dental surgery today, so I also really should go make sure that she is doing okay. And as she had requested, make her a nice, tasty strawberry and banana smoothie. Because it is getting close to dinner time, and I have no idea what sort of protein I am going to make with that. So, yeah. We'll probably do another one of these. Hopefully, I will actually remember to bring my good mic down, and maybe it will sound better? Maybe. We'll see. Thanks for hanging out, folks. See you around. Where's Mouse? Frozen. Oh. Bye.